Good morning, pure hearts. It's me again. So in this video, I wanted to dive a little further into moving, or the topic of moving and moving with children or single. I've done different types of moving: local, cross country, and interstate. So I wanted to just give you guys some tips, some advice, some tricks, my thoughts on just the whole process of moving and what that experience has been like for me. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you walk away with some insightful information, and I want to wish you a wonderful and beautiful happy Wednesday. Talk to you soon. Hi, pure hearts. I'm back again. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Moving, that is the topic of the video today. To be honest, this is one of many questions that I get on a regular basis, especially because I'm now on the East Coast, and people who are from here and they meet me, or I introduce myself or in conversation and I say I'm originally from the West Coast. Oh, how did you get here? And what? You moved across country, you drove, and then it turns into a whole story and conversation of how did I get here. So there's different types of moving. You can move alone, solo trips or moving trips, you and a partner, or you and a partner and children, or you and children. So my very first cross-country move was solo. It was about 26 years ago. And I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. And this was pre-GPS, pre-Waze, pre-Google Maps. It was just being developed, the Google Drive, I should say. So, and I wasn't used to it yet, or the beginnings of using it, especially on such a major trip. So I went where my parents or family members or friends always went whenever they were going on a road trip or a family trip, which was AAA. Went there, and I was able to look at the different types of maps, and I had bought two, I believe. One that was of the actual state and territory or city that I was moving to, and then one that was the whole United States. That's how I discovered there are different interstates that you can take. The northern route, if we're starting point is the West Coast. It takes you up through Utah, Colorado, and it takes you all the way across, and you come back down. You can also go through the center, which you're going to go through Kansas, I believe, St. Louis, a little more uncharted roads, which was scary to me, a little off the beaten path. When you think of a scary movie and you think of those roads with one street light, that was my interpretation of going through the middle. Parts of it was mountainous, parts of it is not. But again, I didn't choose that one. What I did choose was the southern route, the good old-fashioned Interstate 40. I took that all the way across, and there were parts of it that were beautiful. My favorite was going through Arizona and New Mexico. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful states. And then we kind of ran into Texas. Texas. it wasn't the glamour side that people talk about. They talk about Houston, they talk about Dallas, they talk about, right, all of these beautiful parts of Texas. Hopefully Beyonce is not listening. But that's not what I saw. I saw the very top of Texas that touches the 40, and it. Hi guys, sorry about that. Little technical difficulties, but I think we're all set now. So, Texas. The southern part of Texas was lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of cattle, and lots and lots and lots of oil rigs, I believe is what they're called. And yeah, about 8 hours approximately. That's what your view was. But I don't take it for granted. The United States is a beautiful country. If you are ever given the opportunity to travel in a car or in a RV, which is what I would have preferred in the future, and really see the United States, it's a beautiful place. Yeah, you kind of go through Oklahoma. Again, it kind of takes you through the middle a little bit, quick, couple of hours, Arkansas, and then there's Tennessee. And when I got to Tennessee, it was some of the most beautiful green rolling hills that I've ever seen in my life. And it was moments of silence, of just no radio, roll the windows down, because this was fall when I was traveling, October to be exact. And it was just beautiful. The leaves were changing. I had never seen any of that up close and personal, and I got to experience it. Amazing. And then as I'm traveling up the East Coast, again, I became emotional. Why did I become emotional? I was just seeing everything surrounding me in its raw form, and just to be able to describe that to someone who has never seen it, words couldn't explain, in that moment. But it was beautiful. The air was crisp. It was clean. And that is exactly where I was supposed to be in that moment, to experience that. And that's something that I never forgot. So let's kind of jump in. I do have notes here and get a little further in. So let's start off. When do you start planning to move? Whether it is solo or with kids. I would say for me, what I did was I started planning about a year ahead. I looked at, okay, what am I going to do for work? Where am I going to work? What does the job market look like? Do your research. That is the number one thing I would suggest. Do your research. Also, research, where are you going to live? That's actually before employment. Where are you going to live? What state? If it is out of state, even if it is local and you're still in the same state, research that city as best as you can. Take trips. Okay, someone might say, I work a lot. Make time. You will not ever regret that. Travel. Get in your car. Drive, and drive at night. Drive in the afternoon. Drive during rush hour traffic so you can see, if you have to commute, what that looks like. If it is across states or across the country to a totally different coast, if you are given the opportunity, please take at least one trip. Plan it for a weekend, plan it for a week. Whatever you're able to do, make that effort to do so. Because you need to feel, to see, and I don't know about you, but I'm all about feelings, senses. I didn't always listen to my intuition, but in those moments I did. How did it make me feel? What What were the different smells? What were the different cultures? Do I smell the ocean? Do I smell cattle? Do I smell, different foods and spices? Like, all of that means something to me. And if you're able to experience it, go. Go ahead of time. Another little tip I would say that I use even to this day, I will go on to the different, because there's so many websites out there. I would go on to realtor.com, Trulia, even apartments.com, because they will show, all of the sites will show a mixture of private properties that are for rent, properties under management, properties that are part of a development, as well as land, as well as apartments, condos, townhomes. So get on those sites. 9 times out of 10, they will have an address. Let's say you see a property that you like. Drop it into Google Earth. Let Google Earth be your friend as long as it is available. Pop that address in, look at it, turn it into 3D mode, drop your pin of yourself, write down as close as you can get. Sometimes it'll allow you to get right in front of the property. I think there's certain privacy rules that apply. Also, if the roads are private, I believe that the satellites cannot pick up photos of that. There's rules to it, but for the most part, you can get close enough and see the neighborhood, see the surroundings, see where a hospital is, see where the closest grocery store is, see if you dry clean. If you're picking a property without laundry, see where the closest laundromat is, see where the closest gas station, if you have to commute. All of those things play a part, as well as schools. Now let's dive into moving with children. That first road trip was solo. It was life-changing. It was life-changing in the sense that it allowed me to remind myself, Christina, you are able to do this. You got this. You're stronger than you thought. And it fast forward to my next move that I did with children. That next move, because I did eventually go back to the West Coast and stayed for many years and decided for a change and moved again. I never forgot that moment. I didn't have children at the time, but I never forgot the way that mood made me feel. And it was during a time in my life, I was in my 20s, and just to see something new was a beautiful thing. And I never forgot the way it made me feel. And when I start factoring in my children into the scenario, how would I think it would make them feel? And I look forward to that. And so all of those things that I just got through explaining and saying and speaking about as far as Google Earth, I did all of those things again. Took that year again to look at work, look at different neighborhoods as much as I could. I would like to say, if you can, please plan. Please plan to incorporate at least one trip to that new location. Walk around, try the food, see where libraries are, where bookstores are, where coffee shops, whatever your interests are. See how far away you are from those things, because that will pull me into what I'm going to speak about later on in the video. But back to children. It was still that year of planning. Yes, I still took a trip. I had to leave my kiddos behind. I went for a couple of days because I had a job interview. So I was able to utilize that time to get my job interview in, as well as look around. And so I looked around and I was able to see, you know what? Yeah, this might work. And I was able to see now the schools that I researched also. I looked to see what the school's curriculum was. And let me rewind. When I found the place, I looked at what schools are zoned for that area. Then I took the names of those schools, and popped them into Google and looked at their actual school website. From there, I was able to look at their curriculum. And from that point is where you want to look and see, is this equivalent? Because a lot of schools, especially in different states, have the same program possibly, but they call it a different name. So don't count it out and to say, oh, well, my kid was taking English, but then they call it ELA in another state as it, oh, they don't offer that. And I'm just using that as an example. It could go by a different name. So do that research. Do that research for your kids, no matter what age they are. Kindergarten, preschool, all the way down to high school. That is so, so important, because this move does not only affect you or your partner or spouse or your family, it affects the little people in your life. And those are memories that you create for them that they carry. If they're old enough to remember, you want to make it as smooth as possible, as peaceful as possible. And number one, you want to make them still feel secure, even though there's a huge change taking place in their life. So, schools, research schools. Look at the school's website. Look at what time they start. Does that possibly conflict with your job and with your job's schedule? You solo or you with a partner? Look at daycares. Research those. Research the cost. Again, look at different stores. I don't know if you're like me, being a mother of 5, I use the big stores, the big box stores as they call them. Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's, all of them. All of the above. And I also, shop at Walmart, Target. Anything that's going to help me maximize my monthly food bill, I'm going to be a member of. But look and see where those are. It just helps you have an idea. And to be honest with you, it takes away the sting and the fear a little bit. Makes it a little less scary. Excuse me. So also, you want to take a look at the time of year when you're moving. Is it summer? So if you're moving from, say, Southern California to where it's 70 degrees and you got a little bit of ocean breeze, to Arizona where it can be 110 in the middle of July, you want to plan according to that. That makes a difference in the maintenance of your car, the different things if you're driving, or if you're towing your car. You want to also look at food, snacks. You want to bring a little bit of extra water or purchase extra water. Buy water bottles for your children. The weather makes a huge, huge difference. And I learned that from trial and error, when I moved the second time with children. It was in the middle of the 2016 blizzard on the East Coast. When I tell you I planned everything down to the T, I planned everything down to the T, except I did not look fully at the weather. I just knew I had accepted my job, and I just knew that I needed to be on the East Coast by this date, and we needed to leave by this date, and I allotted about a week's worth of time for me to leave and get to my new location to start my new job. And I didn't factor that in. How did I get through that? And with children, I turned it into a slumber party. That was going to be regardless of the weather. And that leads me into traveling with children. I took a cooler, because at the time, minivan, stuck it in between the driver's side passenger. There's a little space if you know minivans, they have the 2 cabin seats. I stuck it in between there. I had every snack you could think of. Capri Suns, That's where the big box memberships come in handy. And I was able to buy big boxes of drinks and things for the smaller children. Lots of water. Filled it with ice. I put yogurts. I put bananas. I put fruit, apples, oranges, all of these things. So it lessened for me my drive time of me having to stop. So that's huge. Also factor in those stops. Looking back then, my solo, it was a map. Looking at that map and having to figure out where my next city and calculating the drive time, because I only drove from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, for safety reasons. At that first trip, I was alone, and I'm a woman, and I had to be smart about it. I used that same thought process. Again, I'm traveling alone, but now with 5 children. I needed to make sure we were safe, and I was trailing a trailer. That slowed down my drive time as well. You can only, those of you that know, you can only drive 55 miles per hour. So I needed to factor all of that in, and that's why I gave a week. If I had a second person coming with me, another adult driver, you can cut that down to 32 to 48 hours. I wanted to take advantage of that downtime, that space. Everyone that I told was afraid. Why am I doing this alone? And again, they forgot that I did this solo already years before. I'm capable, I'm willing, and I had faith. But back to the kids and traveling with kids. Those snacks, get that cooler, fill it up with all your kids' favorite snacks. I'm not a believer in shoving an electronic in a young child's hand for entertainment purposes. I do have an entertainment system at the time and presently within my vehicle that my children can watch movies. So that was very important. And I brought every single movie that they ever loved. And there was coloring books. You're almost building a suitcase or a duffel bag, which I filled full of activities. And it was not just for the actual car ride, it was also for the hotel. And what I did was I turned those moments into a huge slumber party. I had a little speaker, because that was beginning to become the craze at the time. And I plugged it into the hotel, mind you, within reason and with a certain time of the evening. My youngest was 2.5 at the time. So it was maybe, I would say after dinner, about 6 p.m. And we'd have music. We'd have pillow fights. We'd watch our favorite movie. I bought microwave popcorn because I always made sure there was a microwave and a refrigerator within my hotel room because I had children. And we popped popcorn, and I had a little small hot pot, I guess is what you would call it. They call it different things in different regions, but mini stove, similar to the ones you use on a camping trip. Plug that in. I was able to cook a little bit for my kids too as well. So it wasn't totally processed food, right? I could make soups and different things. And we ate. And again, one of the few moments that I let them eat as much candy and just, I turned their minds off of the fact that their life is changing and they may not fully understand. And when we quieted down, those were those moments that I took, that I made sure that they understood how important how they felt was to me. I asked them, how do you feel in these moments? Are you scared? Are you afraid? And this is probably why I love children so much. They were very, very honest, and they would tell me, yeah, just a little bit, mommy. But this is fun, you know? And that kind of goes into how people ask me, how do I take care of 5 children? I made it the funnest I possibly could, even if it wasn't reality. but this is the shortest part of their life. And if I could give them memories that they will never forget, I was going to do so. And that's what I did. So, buy board games, or if you have board games, pack them in your car. Those are a lifesaver to have in the hotel rooms. I have a giant Sorry game. Now, I didn't have it back then, but that would be something I would pack. Life, Monopoly, go old school, go backwards, go back to your childhood. All those things that made you smile, bring those. Teach your kids, like, listen, we used our imagination. This is how we had fun. And I turned everything into a song. So we would sing. We'd sing brushing our teeth. We would sing about eating. We would pray. We would ask for safety for our family. I taught and instilled all of these things in my children because they were taught to me. And so ease those little minds. Let them know that they can still feel safe with you. Let them know that, yes, this is scary, but we're going to be all right. Because they have those fears too. Don't ever forget about them. So when it comes down to the move, another tip that I would have is get copies of your medical records. Do that ahead of time before you even step foot in that car, that plane, however your choice of moving is. Do that ahead of time. Sign release forms with your doctors, your dentists, your specialists. Get copies. For those women out there, get your mammograms on a disc. When you move and you relocate and you're now establishing care, a lot of doctors will ask you, especially if you are getting mammograms, do you have it on a disc? Get those. Ask the doctor's office or the lab or the radiologist if you can purchase or receive it. I work in the healthcare. That's part of your rights. And you are allowed to get copies of all of your records. Get those. Get even copies, if you're able, of your dental, your x-rays. It makes that move to your new place and establishing new care so much easier. It makes that transition so much smoother, especially for your little ones. Get all those records because the school is going to ask for it. If you give your children immunizations, get those. You need it to register. And another tip when you get to your new place, if you are able, ask them if they have an online portal. Are you able to access this portal ahead of your appointments to fill out paperwork? Because let me tell you, doing it for yourself plus 5 children, that in itself can take 20 to 30 minutes at a time, depending on how many pages I am signing. And I'm doing it times 5, 6 if you include me. So if you're able to get those documents, get them ahead of time. Fill it all out. If you've already decided on your pediatrician, your dental office, us ladies, we are allowed 2 doctors. We are allowed our regular general practitioner as well as our OBGYN. So have all of your records. I cannot stress that enough. And have access to it. Bring with you birth certificates, Social Security cards. All of these things are so important. And if all of your life is packed in boxes, the last thing you want to do is try to figure out where they are at. I put them in a nice little file folder or a briefcase that has a old school, has a dial lock or a key. Pop them in there, or even a fireproof box that you can just carry it with the handle. Very, very important. Now let's move on to the phase of, if you are going to travel or drive, research those moving companies. Moving is so expensive because of the economy. It's beyond. If you are able to get help the old-fashioned way of family and friends, Please utilize them. Ask for help. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not, in the case of myself, because I was moving across country, research those pods, research moving companies, research U-Haul. U-Haul has a wonderful program now to where you can set your reservation for your truck, but you can also add on helpers at the beginning of your move and at the tail end of your move if you need to load and unload. They give you an upfront fee for that, and it's included in your reservation. And a lot of times, though, they do ask that you pay for the movers up front. And I would suggest, if you are going to go that route, because it is the cheapest that I have found versus a moving company. U-Haul does not employ these movers, I found out. These movers are a third party. They pay the company, which they're called Movers Help. The movers or moving companies pay to advertise on U-Haul's website. They are not employees of U-Haul, so U-Haul has nothing to do with that. So it's a totally separate number that you would call if you have any issues. But going through U-Haul, it gives you a sense of insurance that I like. You can request your money back. You can request a refund back through the moving help. So, and you can also write reviews. You can also tip the movers through that. You know that you are able to purchase supplies as well, because again, you're setting your reservation through the U-Haul website. So if you need extra dollies, tape, boxes, packing peanuts, whatever it is that you need pertaining to your move, because separate moving companies charge you for that. Whereas it's a little more discounted with U-Haul, and it's included, and you're basically paying two fees: the actual moving itself, the truck and supplies, and the separate helpers. But you have an idea and you can get an estimate. If you create an account, you're able to see, pause it, move on to the pods. That might work for you price-wise as far as doing a local in-state move. If you're only going maybe 40 miles away to a new home, the pod might work for you. They come, big truck, brings, and the amount of pods, and that's where it can become pricey. Depends on how big your house is. So in the case of myself, I had 3 bedrooms. So if you have a 3-bedroom, they suggest, I believe it was 5 to 6 pods. That averaged about $4,000, $4,000 to $5,000. And again, you're doing this online. There's no guarantee if all of your stuff is going to fit. Or it could end up being too much. That's just at the suggestion of U-Haul, right? So, but there's different ones. You don't have to go through U-Haul pods. I just like to do all of my things in one. So you can do pods, you can do storage, you can rent the truck, and you can do movers. That's why I'm speaking of that. But there is the pods website, and there's so many different ones that you can utilize. You can also utilize ABF, the moving company, and there's other big cross-country moving that you can use. Look into it, whether or not you are going to have a company move you and you drive your car. Are you going to have it shipped? Look at the mileage that they charge, because had this been 10, 20, 25 years ago, they didn't charge. It was unlimited mileage. That is not the case anymore. Factor all of that in when you're preparing. And this goes into that year long, and why I say a year long. It allows you to save. It allows you to budget. It allows you to figure out where you need to be at and what your time frame is going to be. So that, to me, I guess it's similar, like I would say it's planning a wedding. I believe it's the same concept. It's allowing you to put deposits down, and it's allowing you to look, research, read up on. Look at it the same way you would if you were researching schools, you know, which I plan to do, to go back to school and finish my degree. But yeah, this move is such a big thing. Um, and you don't want to take anything for granted or leave any stone unturned. Um, you want to just factor in all of the things that I said, but the number one thing that you want to do is check in on yourself. Check in on your mental health. You don't want to do something as stressful unless you just don't have a choice. Like, job says, time to go, you need to be there by March 1st, and that's giving you a month and a half, 2 months to make this move. I've had to do that as well, do an emergency move, and it's very stressful. Or just making that decision at the last minute. And those things can happen. A family member could fall ill, and you could be making that decision, immediately to move. So there's so many things that can come into play with that. But if you are allowed or allotted that time to plan, do it. Take advantage of it. But check in on yourself. Check in on yourself throughout this process. You might need to keep it to yourself. Sometimes people can say that they love and they care for you, but they don't like change, and they don't want you to change. And therefore, it could be little birdies telling you and discouraging you from moving along in your journey. And that could have been something with you in your relationship with Spirit that you felt and you heard in your mind that was telling you it's time. And sometimes that's where it stops. It's not necessarily a conversation that needs to be with anyone else. I don't want to ever tell you or suggest to keep things from those that you love, but there are moments in time that you have to, because not everyone means you a positive thing. And I'm at the ripe age of 47. I'm at a point in time in my life, and I've been through many, many, many heartache and loss, that I'm protecting my spirit because it's God-given. This smile that I've had some certain people tell me, you're too positive, you're too happy all the time. And I was like, did you ever think for a moment that that's my purpose, or one of my purpose here on earth? How can you tell me to dim that? So that's just a little side note. Self-care. Check in on yourself. Don't let someone else's negative thoughts or projections of you or thoughts of you be projected onto your spirit, because it'll change the course of your life. God will, and pardon me if you are not a religious person, I am, but He'll allow things to still take place because there could possibly be lessons and things that you need to learn. But I've experienced that, and I've had someone tell me who I was and how I live my life and what I'm going to do, which is possibly fail and possibly not be able to accomplish any of those things that I've ever thought I could. That's their thought and their journey and their story. It's not mine. And one thing I will say that I've always asked, if those people, places, or things be removed out of my path, and when I tell you they have been, I am so thankful for that. But I'm going off on a tangent. Let's get back to the movie. So another thing I would suggest, take your time. Again, there's no blueprint, because there's so many different things that could be going on in your life. It's the reason for the move. Take your time if it's allotted to you. Because again, I know that certain things can come up and be the reason for the move. But take your time. When you are traveling, if you can, Immerse yourself in your surroundings. Look at those mountains, look at those trees, look at every bit of every stopping point or airport even that you stop at. If you do have a flight that stops, take it all in. Take the people in. Take that moment and try the food. See things that you know you've never seen before. Absorb that. Make it into an experience. And again, that feeds into your soul as well. And it goes back to that mental health. But do the things that make you feel happy. Continue to check in with yourself. I can't stress that enough. If you are driving, another tip that I have is I never let my tank go past E. Because again, you are traveling a territory that you're not familiar with. If this is your first time, you don't want to get stuck trying to search for a gas station in case you got lost or veered off took a wrong turn, and now you're off of the beaten path and you're trying to say, oh my goodness, I'm almost on E. So that's something that I do, and I've continued to do even from the first trip. And that is, when I get to E, I fill up. So that way I always have gas. So that's another little tip. Going back to, again, seeing your surroundings. When I was traveling with my kids and solo, I would try to pick up little souvenirs. I remember when I traveled through New Mexico, I stopped. There was little stands along the highway, and I remember getting a turquoise bracelet. Beautiful, beautiful bracelet. That was so significant to me. I took pictures of the sign that says, welcome to Arizona, welcome to New Mexico, Oklahoma. They were just little things, but little moments that meant something to me. Again, back to that mental health. Take those times, take those moments. I can't stress that enough. So you can feel like that was a moment. That was a moment in my life that I took that chance with or without someone, or partner, children. And with children, make it a thing. Point things out. Look at the snow cap on that mountain. You know, wow, look at this jewelry. Wow, let's stop at this diner and let's see what kind of foods they have. You know, and make it that's when it's okay to project your emotions and your thoughts onto your children. Make it fun. But there's so many different things that I can speak about as far as moving. Again, whether it's a personal reason, whether it's a new start, whether it's a job, whether it's for family, whether it's an emergency and you have to move. Someone's sick, someone's ill, whatever the reason is. What my takeaway I would like to be for you is plan if you can, follow your gut or spirit or intuition or whatever it is you believe in. Follow that. Listen to your heart. Research. Prepare as much as you can. Look ahead, think ahead, plan ahead. Budget. Know what you can and cannot do. If you're traveling solo, be safe. Look ahead. And it was another tip that I forgot to mention. Because I didn't know driving circumstances, the weather, different things, I couldn't book my hotels ahead of time. I needed to do it during the travel, because I could have planned in my mind, I'm going to drive from 5 to 5, but I may have still felt a little energized, so I drove an extra 2 hours. So I didn't want to book a hotel if I decided to pass that hotel stop, you see? So whenever I stopped to get gas, I booked the hotel. That way. Did it during the trip, but ahead of time. So I knew where we were going to go. This was when we were going to stop. I looked again to see what was around. I looked to see if the hotels had restaurants. I looked at if they had room service, just different things like that. Very, very important. Check on the little ones if you're traveling with children. Check on their mental health. Have those discussions. They're moments they will never forget. Check in with yourself constantly. Use this time, especially when traveling with others, if they're sleeping, if your kids are sleeping in the back, and it's just you, if you're alternating driving. I used a lot of those moments to think. Again, look around, observe things that I know I may never see again or anytime soon. Took it all in, humbled myself and felt in awe about it, and was just thankful for the experience and the opportunity and to be able to make these moves and these trips. But just know, no matter what your circumstance is, you got this. You got it. You got it. Make the best out of every moment. Squeeze your little ones a little tighter, and your loved ones, your partner, and even squeeze yourself. Don't let anything talk you out of something that your heart feels strongly about. Don't let anything or anyone tell you that something is wrong out of their own fear, out of you're different from what their journey and path is. Just know that you're doing what's best for you and your family and your circumstance. And that's okay. And I'm not trying to make it seem as though there is never, ever any mistakes made. Of course. That's the beauty of life, right? You're able to fix that. You're able to get through it and try again. So I'm going to leave you with that. I do have some future videos coming up. I would like to eventually talk a little bit about food and cooking and how do I make quick meals for 5 children and how did I manage that. I might take you guys with me on shopping trips and how do I shop for multiple kids and get the best buys. Who has the best sales? What are the best stores in my experience? For that, I want to talk about that. Going back to myself, what do I feel being past the 45 mark, almost in my 50s? How do I feel? What does it feel like to realize that my body is changing? My body has changed. I'm self-aware. I lost my mother and I realized that I went through a phase of stress eating, right? And it took me about a year or so into that to realize that I was doing it. And trying to find my way and navigating through that and through exercising. And I realized I was working out because I have equipment in my home and I have a gym membership. And I also was kickboxing and doing all of these things, right? And I wasn't losing the weight. Different ideas, but I'm finding my way. I'm finding my way. So, don't stop. Don't stop believing in yourself. And again, Don't let someone else tell you what your happiness looks like. Because again, I've had people do that. I've had people tell me, oh, Christina, you're gaining weight and you're really pointing fingers. And it might have been hurtful in the moment, but again, I realized that was them projecting their thoughts of themselves onto me and trying to tell me who I was. I know one thing, whether the outside of myself changes or not, one thing that will never change is my heart, regardless, and what my real true thoughts are. And those people or persons who have been negative in my life, I realized they were lessons for me. And those lessons were repeated because I needed to learn. So, pure hearts, don't ever stop learning. Go on that adventure. Make that beautiful sleepover filled with love and memories with your babies, with your significant other and your spouse. In the words of someone so special to me, he said, just do it. I hear you. Talk to you soon. Bye, Pure Hearts. Hi, Pure Hearts. So I realized that the video had stopped earlier and it kind of cut off when I was talking about my workout routine and regimen, and I realized that I was not losing the weight. And it dawned on me after my annual checkup that it's my food. If you don't change your diet, all of that extra hard work, you don't see the results. So lately, in the last several weeks, I've been watching my calories, cutting my calories back, paying attention, watching my sugar, watching my carbs, slowly easing my way into becoming a pescatarian. And I feel like that is where I'm beginning. I'm not doing this for the world. I'm doing it for me and for my babies. I want to be around. I want to be here. And that's so important to me because that journey of motherhood is not done. And for my health. So I wanted to just jump back in and kind of pick up because I noticed that my video had cut off and I was in the middle or mid-sentence. Again, don't let anyone ever tell you what your path is. Don't ever let anyone define you or tell you who you are or who you're going to be. Just be. Just be. Be your beautiful self with the purest of hearts. Talk to you soon, Pure Hearts. And yes, you will be a part of my weight loss journey. I'll take you to the gym with me as well as my shopping trips, my cooking trips, and continue to just give you advice and build my tribe and my online family. And I hope I'm able to just touch even one person out there that would make my heart full. Enjoy your evening. Till next time. Bye.